All right, this is math, chapter 3, verses 1. And so you can see up here on the board, I have math 3.1, chapter 3, lesson 1. And the learning target for this video and for this lesson is going to be this. It's going to be to add and subtract decimals. You've done this before. It's basic just adding and subtracting, but you got to know place value and you have to be able to line the decimals up. That's the key. Key idea is place value and lining up the decimal points. Once you do that, then you just apply your knowledge of adding and subtracting, and you'll be fine with this. All right, so I'm going to do some problems here on the board, and then you'll have a chance to watch another video that has some guided math problems done for you, and then you'll have a chance to do some independent practice. Okay, well let's look at this. We have 54.7 plus 21.4. Okay, now I got the answer there. I'm going to erase that, and we're going to get it. Okay, so place value. I have a decimal point. So I have the decimal point. If I'm going this way, it's going into part of a whole number. So this is tenths, and then we have hundredths, and then we have thousands, and so on. Okay? So from here is the tenths, hundredths, thousands. Okay? Now, if I go this way, I have my whole numbers here, which is ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, etc., etc. Okay? So once you know the place value, you just line up place value. When you're adding, you have to add all the ones together, you have to add all the tens together, hundreds together, you have to add the tenths together, you have to add the hundredths together. So that is the key. And if you're lining up place value, you can do it that way, or you line up the decimals. By doing that, your place value is all lined up. Now, one little trick I like is if you want to do these, you can get some lined paper. You know how you have that lined paper like this? You flip it this way. Then, in the lines, you put a number in each one. And maybe you have this as your, say you have this as your decimal point. Okay? So then on this one, 7 goes over here, 4 goes here, 5 goes here. I'm going to line my decimal point up, then I have 4, 1, 2. Okay, there we go. I use the lines to help guide me, and I actually didn't need this line here. But I also have my place value lined up too. Okay, so I have my tenths here, decimals are lined up, my ones, my tens, everything's lined up. Sometimes you might have a case where there's a number here, say it's like that, and there's nothing right here. So there's nothing to line up. You can always put a 0 there, okay? Because if there's nothing there and then you add a 0, there's still nothing, okay? But there's not anything with this one. So let's get rid of that. Now you have to remember how to add. I know it's been a long summer, but you can do it. 7 plus 4 is 11. Okay, and remember, you put the 1 here, you carry the 1 over to the next place value. Your decimal point just drops down, and then you go 1 plus 4 is 5, plus another 1 is 6. Nothing to carry over, so we're good there. And then 5 plus 2 is 7. So the answer here is 76.1. All right, I think all of you can easily line things up by place value and decimal point. I think some of your mistakes might happen when you go to carry over, add, or subtract. So we just got to remember all that. All right? I'm going to move a little quicker through the next few. So I have 12.2. I start with my first one. Then on this one, I put my decimal, and I put everything to that side of the decimal, and then everything to the other side. 23. Now, my ones line up, my tens line up, my tenths line up. The decimal point just drops down. Now I just add. 5 plus 2, 7. 3 plus 2, 5. 2 plus 1, 3. So I get 35.7. Okay, not too bad. At some point, you'll be able to use a calculator and be able to do this. But for this one, I do not want you using a calculator. I want you to remember how you add this way, that the place values are important, that to carry over, to do all that stuff. So no calculator this time. Maybe even later in the year, we'll start to introduce more of the calculator. 17.3, 33.5. I look to make sure my decimals are lined up. Drop it down there. Now I just add. 3 plus 8, or 3 plus 5 is 8. 7 plus 3 is 10. Got to carry the 1. 1, 2 plus 3 is 5. 50.8. All right, that's adding decimals. Now, let's talk about subtracting. Okay, I'm going to switch to red. So, I have 9.543. When it's written like this, you always put the first number on top. That one goes on top, minus. Now I got to line my decimals up. So I put a decimal here. The ones is 3. The ones goes there. And then 671. 671. Okay, cool. Got everything lined up. Just like it with addition, with subtraction, the decimal drops down. And now we subtract. 3 minus 1 is 2. 4, take away 7, I can't do. You got to remember, if this is smaller than here, you can't take this away from this. So you got to make this one bigger. The way I do it is I go over here, go to the neighbor, the 5 becomes a 4, and then I put a 1 in front here. So now I have 14. 14 minus 7, I can do that. Okay. 4 minus 6, I got 4 fingers. I want to take 6 away. Can't do it. Don't have 6 fingers up. So I got to make this bigger. I go over to the neighbor. The 9 becomes the 8. And I put a 1 in front of the 4. So now I can do 14 minus 6, which is 8. 8 minus 3, 5. The answer is 5.872. Okay? Alrighty. Next one. 50.62 minus 39.81. There's actually a place value for everything. I have my decimals lined up. That means with the decimals lined up, it means my ones are lined up, my tens are lined up, my tenths, and my hundredths. Now I can just subtract. 2, take 1 away, leave me with 1. 6, take 8 away. Can't do it. I come over here. Now remember, you can't borrow anything from 0. There's nothing to borrow. So this guy has to go to the neighbor and say, can I borrow something? The 5 says, sure, becomes a 4, and that becomes a 10. Now I go back to where I was working here before. The 6 can't minus 8. So now I go to the neighbor. This is 10. Now that it's 10, it can become a 9, and that becomes 16. 16 minus 8 is 8. The decimal point drops down. 9 minus 9, 0. 4 minus 3, 1. So the answer is 10.81. All right? This is good review. Good things to remember. How to add, how to subtract. All right. Next one, 14. No decimal point. 14.909. So I put 14 here. With every number, it has a decimal point. If there's nothing over here, then you don't need a decimal point. But every number has a decimal point. It's kind of like a period. 14, period. That's the end of it. No more. Okay? Now, you're going to subtract 9.09. I'm going to put my decimal point here. This is a ones place value. This is a ones place value. So that's like that. And then 0, 9. 0, 9. Okay. Now, I have nothing right here. What can I put here that represents nothing? A 0. I still have nothing there. Now I want a number here, but there's nothing there, and I want to put nothing there, so I'm going to put a 0 there. I still have nothing there. Get it? Okay, so I haven't changed the number at all. I just made sure there's a place value. There's nothing here. I could put a 0 here. Now everything has a place value. Okay? And it's still 14 minus 9.09. It just helps me keep things lined up, keep things in order. Now, 0 minus 9, I can't take 9 away from 0. So this has to go to the neighbor. Hey, 0, can I borrow something? 0 says, I got nothing. No. But I'll go check with my neighbor and I'll get back to you. 0 comes over to here. Says 4, can I borrow something? 4 says, sure, have one. Becomes a 3, that becomes a 10. All of a sudden this 10 goes to the neighbor and says, hey, I got something. So the 10 becomes a 9, and that becomes a 10. Okay? So I had to borrow a little bit down the road, but you still borrowed and got what you needed. 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 0 is 9. The decimal point drops down. 3 minus 9, can't do it. Go to the neighbor, say, hey, can I borrow one? Yeah, I guess so. It's all I got. But so that becomes a 0. That's 13. 13 minus 9 is 4. 0 minus 0 is 0. I'm not even going to put it down. I have 4.91. 4.91. All right. And that is how you add and subtract decimals. Okay, I'm right kind of close to, I can only do 15-minute videos, so I need to finish up real quickly. If you want to check these, if I want to see if this is correct, remember that addition 14 minus 9.09 equals 4.91. This plus this should give me 14. So let's try that. 9.09. I'm going to add these. 4.91. Okay, I got everything lined up, place value. 9 plus 1 is 10. So I go like that. 9 plus 1 is 10. Go like that. Decimal drops down. 9 plus 1 is 10 plus 4 is 14. So when I add these two together, it gets me 14. So I could do 14 minus 9.09 equals 4.91. I could also do 14 minus 4.91. That's going to get me 9.09. Okay? It's kind of that triangle if you ever learned that or remember that. All right, so that is how you add and subtract decimals. Go ahead and watch the guided practice, and then you'll have an opportunity to do some independent practice and some extra practice.